was not only an evil mother, but also a California serial killer. 2 of her victims were her own children. First murdered, Theresa had only been 18 years old. This is the true crime story of one of the most evil mothers in history. Come join me at the Murder She Shed, the place we honor the dead right from my she shed, and my name is Holly. This crime story may be one you have heard before. It is not so rarely heard as a lot of mine that I tell, but I had read a book about Theresa Knorr and decided it would be an intriguing story to tell. So here we are, right here together, enjoying this story. Even if you've heard it, maybe I can tell it differently for you. You know me, I've got a dramatic flair sometimes, so hopefully it can add a little drama to this one. I don't know. I try to have a dramatic flair. Yeah, anyway, if you're interested in my stories, make sure you hit that subscribe button. You can join me usually twice weekly right from my little she shed. I promise I've never murdered anyone here. I'm going to call it Murder She Shed. Most I've ever murdered is a bug. Well, maybe a snake once. A snake once got in here. I think I did kill it. Theresa Knorr married the first time when she was only 16 years old to Clifford Sanders, a year after her mother had died from a heart attack right in Theresa's arms. She would soon drop out of high school and become pregnant, and by the time she was 18, would become a widow. She gave birth to a little boy they named Howard. Theresa claimed that her new husband was abusive and an alcoholic. This is how she would get away with his murder, by claiming self-defense. Just 2 years into their marriage, Clifford packed his bags and told Theresa he was out of here and wouldn't be coming back. Theresa, who was pregnant, grabbed his hunting and decided he would not be leaving alive. This would be her first murder, and she would get off scot-free. Then on March 16, 1965, she gave birth to her second child, a little girl she would name Sheila. Soon after, she would meet a Marine named Herbert Tevos, and he would become her second husband. They moved into a comfortable home in San Francisco, and Theresa soon gave birth to her third child, a baby girl who would be named Susan Marlene Knorr. After Susan was born, Robert and Theresa were married. Soon after, 2 more sons were born, William and Robert Jr. Theresa, at only 22 years old, now is a mother to 5 children. 5 children, 22. That's a lot. That's a lot of stress on your life. Oh, wow. I can't imagine. 22. I was just having my first one at that age. I already have 5. That's a lot. Robert, because of his experiences at Vietnam, had serious anger issues. He even once kicked little William all the way across a room, and the little boy's head split open. By the time a 6th little girl named Terry was born, the couple had separated. Theresa's third husband, Ronald Pullman, had been good to the children, and they even had started calling him Dad, but it soon ended. Then Theresa married her 4th husband, a wealthy newspaper executive named Chester Harris, who introduced her to witchcraft. It was during this time that 6-year-old Terry told her mother that her 13-year-old brother Howard was her. Theresa was so mad she broke a chair over Howard's back and beat him. Soon after that incident, one of Terry's best friend's mothers brought some of her daughter's clothes that she had outgrew over to Theresa's house to give to Terry. This infuriated Theresa because she thought Terry had told her that she did not have any good clothes. So after they left, she grabbed Terry, made her strip naked, put a rope around Terry's neck, and slung it over the door, and made the 2 youngest sons hold the rope while Theresa beat her with a weeping willow limb till she almost passed out. Theresa also began claiming her daughter Susan was involved in devil worshipping and started telling the other children that Susan was plotting to kill her before she turned 18. Her 4th and final marriage lasted only a little over 2 months in 1976. Man, she went through the husbands like some people go through dirty underwear. If you got a stomach virus, just ignore that. It was upon the dissolution of this marriage that Theresa went over the edge. Her drinking increased, her neurosis worsened, and most tragically, her violent and vile outbursts against her children escalated to full-fledged murder. Theresa began gaining weight and wouldn't take a shower and stayed in bed for days at a time. She would start making Howard discipline other children for her. She would make him beat them with a 2x4, which she nicknamed the Board of Education. The two oldest girls, Susan and Sheila, would get the most abuse from their mother. Howard even started molesting Susan. He also started taking and selling drugs. This is where part of the family's money came from. Even though Theresa, who was now 200 pounds, and Howard, who weighed around that amount too, were a healthy size, the other children were malnourished. Theresa started making Susan read from the Bible daily because she believed that she was demon-possessed and started threatening her with exorcisms. Susan was pulled out of school by her mother in 7th grade. Susan ran away once and reported her mother to authorities, but nothing was done because Theresa just said that Susan was a problem child. Theresa would put out her cigarettes on her children's skin. She soon became jealous of Susan and Sheila because they were thinner than her, and she believed they shouldn't be prettier than her. She made Susan eat 4 boxes of mac and cheese in one setting. Howard had moved out, but the 2 youngest brothers took his place in helping discipline the girls. In 1983, when Susan was 16, Theresa grabbed and shot Susan in the chest. Put her in the bathtub so she wouldn't bleed all over her floor. She then had the other children to clean and mop up any splatters and threatened them to keep their mouths shut. And after Susan died, they would just get rid of the body, she said. After she realized Susan wasn't going to die, she began nursing her back to health and being kinder to Susan than she ever had in Susan's whole life. The whole time, Susan was made to stay in the bathtub. A month later, she would walk out of the bathroom with the bullet still lodged in her back. Theresa became paranoid that since the bullet was still in Susan, that Susan was going to turn her in. She began handcuffing Susan where she couldn't leave the house and wouldn't feed her for days at a time. She would feed Susan tranquilizers at night to make her sleep so Susan wouldn't try to escape and kill her. And she also told the other children that Susan couldn't get loose because if she did, Susan would sacrifice Sheila to the devil because Sheila was still a virgin. Theresa started accusing Susan of having a venereal disease and would not allow her to use the bathroom. One night, Theresa made Susan stand in the kitchen with her back to her and threw a pair of scissors at her daughter like she was a dartboard, then stood back and admired her handiwork after it went an inch into the girl's back and stuck. Oh, that's just great. That's just pure craziness. One day, Susan got brave and announced to her mother that she wanted to move to Alaska. Theresa said okay, but before she left, she had to let her remove the bullet from her back. Susan thought perhaps this would be her moment to finally escape, so she said yes. Theresa then prepared for surgery, making her youngest daughter, Terry, assist her. She then made Susan drink a bottle of whiskey until she passed out. After she began digging, the pain woke Susan up, and the 2 youngest brothers held her down as their mother dug for the bullet for 2 hours. After 2 hours, she finally pulled it out. Susan had lost a large amount of blood, although still breathing, was unconscious on the kitchen floor. They left Susan on the kitchen floor. The next day, she woke up but was feverish, weak, and groggy. Theresa ordered the children to just step over her when they went into the kitchen to eat. She would not let anyone help Susan to the bathroom. She just ordered the brothers to put diapers on her and change them occasionally when they couldn't stand the smell any longer. When Theresa wanted to check if Susan was still alive, she'd walk up to her, kick her, and listen to see if she groaned. The story almost sounds unbelievable. It's so nuts.
Oh, this is nuts.
Theresa believed it was taking Susan too long to die, so she got her sons to help load Susan in the vehicle. So on July 16, 1984, they drove in the mountains in the Squaw Valley, and they placed Susan with her mouth taped shut on a pile of her clothes, poured gasoline on her, lit her on fire, and burned her alive. Her body was found the next day, but with no one being reported missing, they had no idea who she was. Since unburnt diapers were found around her body, they assumed that it was a woman that actually had a child. Theresa would soon begin the focused abuse on her oldest daughter, 18-year-old Sheila, whom she started making sell her body to bring in money for the family. Theresa got in her head that Sheila was pregnant, so with the help of her 2 sons, began beating Sheila and attempted to strangle her afterwards. She then force-fed Sheila mac and cheese, breaking off a piece of Sheila's front tooth during the process. Not sure what her deal was with mac and cheese.
Mac and cheese?
Then she filled the bathtub with ice and cold water and forced Sheila to stay in it for an hour afterwards, handcuffing her underneath the kitchen table to sleep for the night. She would soon claim that Sheila had venereal disease and hog-tied her inside of a 2x2 closet and would rarely feed her. Eventually, she quit feeding her at all. Her siblings could hear her moans and pleas for help coming out from behind the closed door. Youngest sister Terry heard her say her last words ever through the closet door. Sheila said, "There is a light above me. I think it is a hole. I am going to climb towards it." Then for 3 days, no more sounds were heard from that closet. Yet no one bothered to open the door. 3rd day, Theresa finally decided to open the door, and a smell emitted from that closet that filled the whole house. The smell of decay filled the whole house. Can't even imagine. Open the door and your sister's rotting in the closet. Your mother is so evil. The 2 boys, William and Robert, went and got a box, picked their rotting sister off the floor, and placed her in the box. While her family went to get rid of Sheila's body, Terry was made to clean the closet, holding back vomit as she scrubbed. They dumped Sheila's body under a bush not far from where they had taken Susan's body. Now that Terry was the only girl left, she became the next in line for the abuse. Terry was handcuffed one night, and her mother jumped up and down on her stomach. Theresa eventually got the idea they needed to burn down the house they were living in to get rid of any evidence that might have been left from Sheila's murder. So she made Terry fill the house with gasoline and set it on fire. Terry ran away soon after that, fearing she would end up like her sisters. She thought it would be better to become a lady of the streets than get murdered by her mother. Well, I kind of agree on that.
She's the lady of the night. What?
Meanwhile, Sheila's body had been found, and it became known as the body in the box case. Terry, after carrying the pain of what happened to her sisters for years, decided to go to police in October of 1993. At first, Terry was not believed because of how unbelievable the whole story sounded to officers. But then one officer remembered the girl that had been found with diapers around her body, and Terry's theory completely fit with the horrible crime scene he had found. It took police some time to even locate Theresa, who had moved to Salt Lake City, Utah, and lived by an alias name. Even though Terry, who also now lived in Salt Lake City, didn't know it, her mother only lived a few miles from her house and was taking care of the elderly. A woman that had killed 2 of her own daughters. She was now a caregiver. Though Theresa has never admitted to her crimes, she did plead guilty and received 2 consecutive life sentences. She is now in her mid-70s. She was denied parole in 2019, so her next eligibility hearing date is July 2024. Theresa passed away from heart failure in 2011 at the age of 41. Really young. After all that, the only daughter left, and she still didn't live very long. It's quite sad, actually. In exchange for his testimony against his mother, save for 1 count of accessory after the fact, all indictments against Robert were dropped. He pleaded guilty and was given 3 years in prison, which he served concurrently with his sentence in Nevada, because Robert had already been in prison for shooting a bartender in an attempted armed robbery. William was only sentenced to probation in order to undergo therapy. And yeah, that is the sad case of an evil, evil, evil bitch mother. How can you do this to the children you give birth to? I'll never understand these cases. They're mind-blowing. Maybe why I always do a lot of mother cases, because as a mother, I cannot see how anybody could do this to their children, because I would die for my children. I don't know where all that came from. But anyway, all right, I love you guys, and I hope y'all have a blessed, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful week. Hello, welcome to the Murder She Shed. Me and Simon got a new couch. Well, it's not new. It's my old couch that I covered And I was like, hey, I enjoy him in the house when we're on the couch. So, why you got mud on your nose, Fruit Loop? You got a muddy nose. He's been chasing the four-wheeler this morning. So we can enjoy him. Oh, I don't know if it's enjoy exactly is the word, but he can give us attention on the couch. This couch now. He's a lot. He is a lot. I love him, but oh God, he is a lot. He doesn't ever mind. You got mud all on my chin to start this. Now we might film on this bright freaking colored couch. I don't know. I ordered this cover and it was a lot brighter than I thought when I ordered it. So now you get to see me in this bright blue. Didn't mean to order that bright blue, but it is what it is. Maybe I'll make a painting to match. You got mud on my chin again? The other day, I filmed and he did this to me and I got done and had a freaking piece of wood or something hanging from my chin. What the crap? Theresa Knorr was not only an evil mother, but you're squilling in the mic, dude. Maybe with a little dramatic flair that you never heard before. Who knows? I don't know. Making things up as I go along, but sounds good. And told Theresa he was leaving and wouldn't be coming back. I'm out of here, girl. You're not talking me into coming back. Something like that. I'm sure it went. I'm not. Never mind. They do. Speaking of dramatic, Theresa then did a dramatic thing and grabbed old Cliff's hunt. And well, she just shot him right then and there. Then on March 16th, 1965, she gave birth to her second child. He's sitting behind me breathing. It's like I have two heads, really. Oh, God. He just laid on me. Why don't you take up all the room there? Go ahead. That's fine. By the time a sixth little girl named Terry was born, the couple had separated. Over to it's bright. It is bright. I didn't know it was going to be that bright. That's going to be sort of that color, but that's okay. I'll make a sunflower in a blue-green painting and hang it right there. Here comes the other fat head. I'm not going to get to finish my story, I guess. My husband's like calling them because he knows I'm filming. He's like, yeah, they're really a pain. But I love them. Pain or not, I still love them. It's okay. Tell him it's okay. You're telling him bye. Oh, goodness. Tell him you love him.
Shorty kill shit. Shorty slay. She's a